Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I am Anubha Rohatgi, and with me is Ramya with the Midday News. The headlines. Voting to elect 14th Vice President underway in Parliament House. Counting of votes to take place this evening. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to chair a meeting of Chief Ministers and Deputy Chief Ministers on Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav in New Delhi this evening. Union Minister Bhupender Yadav asks developed countries to fulfill their commitment by transferring $100 billion funds to developing nations in fight against climate change. Entrance test for CUET UG postponed at 53 centres across 13 states. Exam to be held between 12th and 14th August. Government to make 1.5 lakh Ayushman Bharat Health and Wellness Centres functional by December this year. 7th Governing Council meeting of Niti Aayog to be held tomorrow. And in Commonwealth Games, para table tennis player Bhavina Patel to play for gold. Indian women's cricket team to square off against England in semi-finals, while men's hockey team to take on South Africa in semi-finals. Voting is underway at Parliament House for electing the 14th Vice President of the country. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Union Ministers Amit Shah and Rajnath Singh were among the first to cast their votes for the Vice Presidential election. BJP President JP Nadda, former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, Union Ministers Anurag Singh Thakur, Nirmala Sitharaman, Nitin Gadkari, Dr. S. Jaishankar, Piyush Goyal, Gajendra Singh Shekhawat, Bhupender Yadav, Dharmendra Pradhan, Congress President Sonia Gandhi and Tiruchi Shiva of the DMK, among others, have cast their votes. The Trinamool Congress has decided to abstain from voting. A report.
The polling to elect the new Vice President has started at 10 a.m. and will continue till 5 p.m. The counting will take place this evening. Jagdeep Dhankar is the NDA candidate, while Margaret Alva is the opposition candidate for the Vice Presidential election. The Vice President is elected by the members of the Electoral College, consisting of the members of both Houses of Parliament, in accordance with the system of proportional representation. The total number of electors is 788. It includes 543 elected members of the Lok Sabha and 233 elected members of the Rajya Sabha, as well as 12 nominated members of the Rajya Sabha. The term of Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu is ending on 10th of this month. With Divakar, Bhupender Singh, AIR News, Delhi.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will chair a meeting of Chief Ministers and Deputy Chief Ministers on Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav in New Delhi today. The meeting will be held at Rashtrapati Bhavan at 4:30 p.m. India is celebrating 75 years of its independence, and the government is organizing Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav campaign in this regard. Under the campaign, a series of programs are being organized across the country, including the Har Ghar Tiranga campaign. We spoke to Himachal Pradesh Chief Minister Jairam Thakur about today's meeting of CMs and Deputy CMs.
भारत के इतिहास में एक बहुत ऐतिहासिक कार्यक्रम है जो आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने हर घर तिरंगा और हर घर तिरंगे के साथ साथ में विशेष तौर से जो आजादी के अमृत महोत्सव के अवसर पर पूरे देश भर में चलाया है, और उसके लिए मैं प्रधानमंत्री जी को बधाई देना चाहूंगा। और पूरे देश भर में एक देशभक्ति का एक जोश और जुनून जो है वो पैदा किया है। सबसे बड़ी बात उसमें जो हमारी जो नई पीढ़ी है उनने आजादी के संघर्ष को न तो देखा है और न ही मुझे लगता है कि आज की परिस्थितियों में ज्यादा जिस प्रकार से जाना है। हम किस संघर्ष के दौर में से आजादी हासिल किए हैं और आजादी के लिए कितने लोगों ने कुर्बानियां दी हैं, इसको स्मरण करना बहुत आवश्यक है। और दूसरे, भारत की प्रगति इन 75 वर्षों जिस प्रकार से हुई है, भारत एक बहुत मजबूत राष्ट्र दुनिया के सामने खड़ा है। तो आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी को मैं बहुत बहुत बधाई देना चाहूंगा, और खासतौर से अब की बार 15 अगस्त के लिए जिस प्रकार से हर घर तिरंगा अभियान जो है पूरे देश भर में अलग तरह का चलाया है, हर घर में तिरंगा होगा, तो ये सारी चीजों को लेकर के बहुत बेहतरीन और आज जो बैठक रखी है, आज बैठक में भी इसी विषय पर बातचीत होने वाली है जो प्रधानमंत्री जी की अध्यक्षता में होगी।
Union Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Bhupender Yadav, said that the developed countries must fulfill their commitment to transfer $100 billion to developing countries in fight against climate change. At the 15th Conference of Parties, COP15, of the UNFCCC in Copenhagen in 2009, developed countries had committed to a collective goal of mobilizing $100 billion per year by 2020 for climate action in developing countries. In an exclusive interview with All India Radio, Mr. Yadav also highlighted the global initiative launched by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Lifestyle for the Environment, the Life Movement.
क्लाइमेट जस्टिस में माननीय प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में दुनिया के विकासशील देशों की आवाज बना है और हमने इस बात को भी कहा है कि विकसित देशों के द्वारा जो अतिरिक्त कार्बन उत्सर्जन किया गया है और उसके लिए उन्होंने जो $100 बिलियन देने की बात कही थी उसको वो पूरा करें, विकासशील देशों को क्लाइमेट फाइनेंस उपलब्ध कराएं, टेक्नोलॉजिकल ट्रांसफर कराएं ताकि दुनिया के सब देश मिलकर पूरी दुनिया पे आने वाली जो जलवायु परिवर्तन की जो संकट है उसका मुकाबला कर सकें।
The Union Minister also urged all the citizens to stop the use of single-use plastic and opt for biodegradable alternatives.
मैं आपके इस महत्वपूर्ण प्लेटफॉर्म के माध्यम से जो भी लोग सुन रहे हैं उनको आह्वान करना चाहूंगा कि सिंगल यूज प्लास्टिक को बंद करिए। ये हमारी नालियों में जाता है, हमारे पशु खाते हैं, हमारे कृषि क्षेत्रों में अवशिष्ट पैदा करता है, हमारे समुद्रों में कचरा पैदा करता है जिसका किसी प्रकार से निस्तारण नहीं कर सकता है। अपने देश और अपनी पृथ्वी को हरा भरा करने के लिए जो सहयोग आप दे रहे हैं उसको अपनाइए और जो इसके विकल्प हैं, जो बायोडिग्रेडेबल है, सस्टेनेबल है और हमारे लोकल उत्पाद है, इसके जो विकल्प है उसको अपनाने का काम करें।
Full interview of the Union Minister can be heard in our special program Spotlight at 9:15 p.m. tonight on FM Gold channel and additional frequencies. This will also be available on our website newsonair.nic.in and on our YouTube channel News on AIR Official. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will chair the 7th Governing Council meeting of Niti Aayog at Rashtrapati Bhavan Cultural Centre, New Delhi tomorrow. The meeting will pave the way for synergies towards a new era of collaboration and cooperation between centre and states and union territories. The agenda of the meeting includes crop diversification and achieving self-sufficiency in oil seeds, pulses and agri-communities, implementation of the National Education Policy and urban governance. The Governing Council meeting will endeavour to finalise a roadmap and outcome-oriented action plan on each of the themes. As part of preparations for the meeting, the National Conference of Chief Secretaries held in Dharamsala in June this year was chaired by the Prime Minister. Our correspondent reports that this meeting would be very important as the country enters Amrit Kal against the backdrop of the COVID-19 pandemic and in light of India hosting the G20 presidency and summit next year.
Union Health Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandavia has said that the target of setting up 1.5 lakh Ayushman Bharat health and wellness centres will become functional by December this year. Replying to a debate over a private member legislation, namely the Right to Health Bill 2021 in the Rajya Sabha yesterday, Dr. Mandavia said that out of the total target of setting up 1.5 lakh such centres, 1,22,000 are now functional. The Health Minister has also said the government has set a target to increase the health budget of the country to 2.5% of the GDP, which is currently at 1.9%. Giving details about the allocations made in the health budget, he said in 2014 the total health budget was to the tune of 33,000 crore rupees, which was increased continuously, and it has now reached 83,000 crore rupees in 2022-23. The Enforcement Directorate ED is questioning Varsha Raut, wife of Shiv Sena MP Sanjay Raut, in connection with the Patra Chawl development scam in Mumbai. Sanjay Raut was arrested last week by the probe agency in a money laundering case in connection with the alleged financial irregularities in the redevelopment of Patra Chawl and related financial property transactions involving his wife and alleged associates. After questioning Sanjay Raut, the ED had summoned his wife Varsha Raut to be present in its Mumbai office yesterday, but she did not attend the probe yesterday due to some health issues. Varsha Raut was also questioned earlier in this case, and after that the ED had attached a flat at Dadar and 8 plots near Kihim Beach in Alibag, which was bought by her in partnership with Swapna Patkar, wife of Sujit Patkar, who was said to be a close associate of Sanjay Raut.
The University Grants Commission, UGC, has asked all universities and colleges to observe August 14th as Partition Horror's Remembrance Day. They have been asked to organize programs and seminars to commemorate the sufferings and sacrifices of millions of Indians during the partition in 1947. UGC Chairman Professor M. Jagdesh Kumar said it is important to encourage students, staff and faculty members to participate in the observance of Partition Horror's Remembrance Day in large numbers. Prime Minister Modi had last year announced that August 14th will be observed as Partition Horror's Remembrance Day in memory of the struggles and sacrifices of people, saying the pain of partition can never be forgotten. Mr. Modi had said that millions of our sisters and brothers were displaced and many lost their lives due to mindless hate and violence. Union Minister for Animal Husbandry and Dairies, Purushottam Rupala, is on a visit to Jaipur today. He will review the situation of lumpy skin disease spreading among cattle in Rajasthan. Animal Husbandry Minister of the state, Lalchand Kataria, Chief Secretary Usha Sharma and senior officials of Animal Husbandry Department will be present in a high-level meeting scheduled at the State Secretariat. Our correspondent reports that lumpy disease is spreading rapidly in the state and more than 8,000 cattle have died so far. You are listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Voting to elect 14th Vice President underway in Parliament House. Counting of votes to take place this evening. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to chair a meeting of Chief Ministers and Deputy Chief Ministers on Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav in New Delhi this evening. Union Minister Bhupendra Yadav asks developed countries to fulfill their commitment by transferring $100 billion funds to developing nations in fight against climate change. Entrance test for CUET UG postponed at 53 centres across 13 states. Exam to be held between 12th and 14th August. Government to make 1.5 lakh Ayushman Bharat Health and Wellness Centres functional by December this year. 7th Governing Council meeting of Niti Aayog to be held tomorrow. And in Commonwealth Games, para table tennis player Bhavina Patel to play for gold, Indian women's cricket team to square off against England in semi-finals, while men's hockey team to take on South Africa in semi-finals. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle @AIR News Alerts.
कंपटीशन की अगर आप कर रहे हैं तैयारी तो उनके लिए ऑल इंडिया रेडियो पर हम लाए हैं अभ्यास, एक ऐसा कार्यक्रम जिसमें आप पूछेंगे सवाल व्हाट्सएप नंबर 9289094044 पर या फिर ईमेल करेंगे abhyas.airnews@gmail.com पर और हमारे विशेषज्ञ देंगे इसका जवाब। आपका अभ्यास हमारा प्रयास।
अब हर घर की छत पर शान से फहरेगा तिरंगा, गुनगुनाए जाएंगे नव विकास के गीत, आन बान शान का प्रतीक राष्ट्रध्वज तिरंगा। आइए आजादी के अमृत महोत्सव के पावन अवसर पर इस स्वाधीनता दिवस हर घर फहराते हैं तिरंगा और लेते हैं भव्य और सशक्त भारत के निर्माण का संकल्प।
आइए हर घर फहराएं तिरंगा।
Welcome back to the Midday News. The National Testing Agency, NTA, has informed that the Common University Entrance Test, CUET UG, scheduled for today has been postponed at 53 centres across 13 states due to administrative and technical reasons. The NTA in a statement said the postponed exam will now be held between 12th and 14th August and the same admit card will remain valid. The affected candidates have already been informed about the postponement of exam through SMS and email. The NTA said in case the rescheduled date is not suitable, the candidates can send an email to datechange@nta.ac.in mentioning their desired date and roll number. The candidates are also advised to keep visiting the NTA website for the latest updates regarding the examination. More than 205.92 lakh COVID vaccine doses have been administered in the country so far under the nationwide vaccination drive. The Health Ministry said more than 32,73,000 doses were administered in the last 24 hours. During the same period, 19,406 new COVID cases were reported in the country. India's active caseload currently stands at 1,34,793 and it is at 0.31%. The recovery rate is currently at 98.5%. A total of 19,928 people have recovered in the last 24 hours and with this the total recoveries have touched over 4,34,65,000.
And now let's listen to our special program Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव
Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. Birth of a Nation. India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day.
In today's episode, we remember freedom fighter Surendranath Banerjee, who died on the 6th of August 1925. Popularly known as Rashtra Guru, Banerjee founded the pioneer nationalist organization in British India, Indian National Association, in 1876.
Surendranath Banerjee was born in Calcutta on the 10th of November 1848. He cleared the Indian Civil Service exam in 1869-1870 and was posted to Sylhet as an assistant magistrate after winning the case against his disqualification. However, he was soon sacked over a clerical error, and this time his appeal was dismissed by the courts too. In 1876, Banerjee formed the Indian Association, which was the first pan-India nationalist organization. He campaigned against the Ilbert Bill and became a member of the Indian National Congress soon after its formation in 1885. He was vocal in his opposition to the Partition of Bengal in 1905.
Banerjee was in the forefront of the movement and organized protests, petitions, and extensive public support across Bengal and India, which finally compelled the British to reverse the bifurcation of Bengal. He was an important figure in the Swadeshi movement. Banerjee was the patron of Indian leaders like Gopal Krishna Gokhale and Sarojini Naidu. The pioneer leader of the Indian independence movement breathed his last on the 6th of August 1925. AIR News salutes the visionary nationalist.
The publishing of the Vande Mataram English newspaper began on the 6th of August 1905 from Kolkata. It was founded by Bipin Chandra Pal and edited by Aurobindo Ghosh. Vande Mataram's aim was to prepare Indians to struggle for complete independence. Among its staff were not only Bipin Chandra Pal and Aurobindo Ghosh, but some other very able writers like Shyam Sundar Chakrabarti, Hemendra Prasad Ghosh and Bijoy Chatterjee. Aurobindo published in the paper a series of articles on the political philosophy of revolution. Praising the editorship of Aurobindo Ghosh and Vande Mataram, Bipin Chandra Pal had said,
Vande Mataram was a force in the country which none dared to ignore, however much they might fear or hate it, and Aurobindo was the leading spirit, the central figure in the new journal. The opportunities that were denied him in the National College, he found in the pages of the Vande Mataram, and from a tutor of a few youths, he thus became the teacher of a whole nation.
The Vande Mataram was almost unique in journalistic history in the influence it exercised in converting the mind of a people and preparing it for revolution.
We remember revolutionary Ram Babu, alias Bhagat, a resident of Patna, Bihar. He was an activist of the Hindustan Socialist Republican Army and was severely injured in the explosion of a bomb he was preparing in a room in Patna city to use against the British. Ram Babu was sent to Patna General Hospital, where he died on the 6th of August 1931. AIR News salutes the brave son of the soil.
We also remember Martyr Gunnu, a resident of Satara, Maharashtra, who took part in the First War of Independence in 1857. Initially a sepoy in the East India Company Army, he joined the uprising and fought the British on several occasions at different places in Maharashtra. He was caught by the company troops in the course of an engagement and put on trial for desertion and mutiny. Gunnu was sentenced to be transported for life with hard labor and irons, and died in custody on the 6th of August 1859 in the Andaman Islands.
AIR News salutes the brave son of the soil.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
As part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, All India Radio News brings its listeners a special quiz on India's freedom movement and its glorious history. The next question of Amrit Mahotsav quiz will be shared with the listeners on Monday, 8th of August. Celebrate 75 years of India's independence by participating in Amrit Mahotsav quiz with AIR News. In Jammu and Kashmir, Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha flagged off the Great India Run from the iconic Lal Chowk in Srinagar yesterday. The marathoners will cover a distance of more than 800 kilometers from Srinagar to New Delhi with the message of peace and national integration. The run is being dedicated to the Har Ghar Tiranga campaign to mark Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. The venue was decorated with 75 Indian tricolors to mark 75 years of independence. The occasion also witnessed the children celebrating Har Ghar Tiranga campaign as part of the marathon. The run will go across 4 states covering the routes Banihal, Patnitop, Mansar Lake, Deenanagar, Hoshiarpur, Roopnagar, Ambala Cant before culminating at India Gate on the occasion of Independence Day this year. The Ministry of External Affairs has condemned a statement issued by the General Secretariat of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation (OIC) on Jammu and Kashmir, saying that it reeks of bigotry. External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Arindam Bagchi in a statement said that the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir is and will remain an integral and inalienable part of India. He said as a result of long-awaited changes 3 years ago, it today reaps the benefits of socio-economic growth and development. He said such statements only expose the OIC as an organization devoted to a communal agenda being pursued through terrorism.
At least 10 people, including a top commander of a Palestinian militant group, were killed in Israeli airstrikes in the Gaza Strip yesterday. According to local health officials, dozens of others were injured in the airstrikes. The Israeli Prime Minister said that the operation followed an immediate threat by Palestinian Islamic Jihad after the arrest of one of its members this week. The Palestinian Islamic Jihad group fired more than 100 rockets into Israel in an initial response. The ASEAN regional grouping has said that Myanmar will not be allowed to participate in any of its meetings till it shows progress on the peace plan. ASEAN Chair, Cambodia's Foreign Minister and Special Envoy on Myanmar, Prak Sokhonn, told a press conference today that Myanmar must act in a way that shows progress is being made in the peace plan. Earlier, in a joint communique of the 55th ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting issued on Wednesday, the regional grouping expressed its concern over the prolonged political crisis in Myanmar and the execution of 4 opposition activists. It expressed deep disappointment at the limited progress and lack of commitment of the Naypyidaw authorities towards the implementation of the 5-point consensus.
Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Thakur paid tributes to former Union Minister and BJP leader Sushma Swaraj on her death anniversary. In a tweet, Mr. Thakur said, Sushma Swaraj left an indelible mark on India's political scene as a dynamic speaker, leader and activist. The Securities and Exchange Board of India, SEBI, has constituted an expert group of foreign portfolio investors, FPIs, to boost overseas flows into the country. The FPI Advisory Committee, FAC, will be chaired by former Chief Economic Advisor K.V. Subramanian and consists of 14 other members representing foreign banks, stock exchanges, depositories and RBI. The FAC has been tasked with advising on issues related to investment and operations of FPIs in the financial market, including measures to facilitate ease of doing business by FPIs in India. The committee will review investment avenues available for FPIs and to advise on feasibility of new investment avenues. It will also suggest measures required to encourage FPI participation in the bond market.
Day 9 of the ongoing Commonwealth Games will see grappler Vinesh Phogat start her campaign. The Indian women's cricket team will square off against England in the semi-finals, while the men's hockey team will battle it out against South Africa in the semi-finals. Para-table tennis player Bhavina Patel will square off in the gold medal match. Manju Bala will make her presence felt in the women's hammer throw finals, while boxers Amit Pangal, Neetu Ganghas and Nikhat Zareen will all take part in their respective semi-final bouts. In para-athletics, Poonam Sharma and Sharmila Santosh will be seen in the women's F55-57 shot put finals. In athletics, Bhavna Jat and Priyanka Goswami will compete in women's 10-kilometer walk final, while Avinash Sable will be seen in action in men's 3,000-meter steeplechase final. Hema Das, Duti Chand, Srabani Nanda Simi can be seen in women's 4x100-meter relay round heat 1. And Avinash Sable will also be seen in men's 5,000-meter finals. In boxing, Neetu Ganghas will be seen in action over 45 to 48 kilogram semifinals, Amit Pangal over 48 to 51 kilogram in semifinals, Nikhat Zareen over 48 to 50 kilogram semifinals, Jasmine Lamboria over 57 to 60 kilograms in semifinals, Rohit Tokas over 63.5 to 67 kilograms semifinals, and Sagar Ahlawat over 92 kilograms in semifinals. Pooja Gehlot, Naveen Vinesh Phogat, Pooja Sihag, Ravi Kumar Dahiya, Deepak Nehra will participate in wrestling. In women's cricket, India will take on England in semi-finals. In badminton, Trisa Jolly and Gayatri Gopichand will compete in women's doubles quarterfinals, and PV Sindhu will compete in women's singles quarterfinals, while Kidambi Shrikant will be seen in men's singles quarterfinals. India will take on South Africa in hockey in men's semi-final. In para-table tennis, Raj Aravindan Alagar will be seen in action. So far, India have won 26 gold, 20 silver and 20 bronze medals.
In the Commonwealth Games, Sakshi Malik, Bajrang Punia and Deepak Punia have clinched gold medals for India. In women's freestyle wrestling, Sakshi Malik bagged gold, beating Canadian Gotines Gonzalez by fall in 62 kilogram category, while Anshu Malik settled for a silver after losing 3-7 to Nigeria's Fulasade Adeko Roy in 57 kilogram category. Divya Kakran won bronze medal by defeating Tiger Lily Kokal Emily of Tonga by fall in 68 kilogram category. In men's freestyle wrestling, Bajrang Punia won gold by defeating Canadian Lachlan McNeil 9-2 in 65 kilogram category, while Deepak Punia clinched the gold by defeating Pakistan's Mohammad Inam 3-0 in 86 kilogram category. Mohit Grewal won bronze by defeating Jamaican Aaron Johnson in 125 kilogram category. President Draupadi Murmu, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi have congratulated the three wrestlers for winning gold.
And now let us have a look at the weather forecast for the day. The national capital Delhi will have generally cloudy sky with light rain. Minimum temperature was 26 degrees Celsius and the maximum will be 32 degrees. Mumbai will have generally cloudy sky with moderate rain. Minimum temperature was 25 degrees Celsius and maximum will be 29 degrees. Chennai will have partly cloudy sky with possibility of moderate rain or thunderstorm. Kolkata will have generally cloudy sky with light rain. The minimum temperature was 27 degrees Celsius and the maximum will be 34 degrees. And before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Voting to elect 14th Vice President underway in Parliament House, counting of votes to take place this evening. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to chair a meeting of Chief Ministers and Deputy Chief Ministers on Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav in New Delhi this evening. Union Minister Bhupendra Yadav asked developed countries to fulfill their commitment by transferring $100 billion funds to developing nations and fight against climate change. Entrance test for CUET-UG postponed at 53 centers across 13 states, exam to be held between 12th and 14th August. Government to make 1.5 lakh Ayushman Bharat Health and Wellness Centers functional by December this year. 7th Governing Council meeting of Niti Aayog to be held tomorrow. And in Commonwealth Games, para table tennis player Bhavina Patel to play for gold. Indian women's cricket team to square off against England in semi-finals, while men's hockey team to take on South Africa in semi-finals. And with that, we end the Midday News.